you. Good morning, everyone. It's lovely to see you all. So you're going to hear a little bit now from various members of the education team, but also from Rob Pierce, who's the Creation Care Champion at Braddock Church. And what we all love about what Rob is doing is how much he is involved with his local school and how they work together. And he has got an incredible story to tell us about that. We're also going to be hearing from Nikki, who is a colleague of mine, a teacher. She teaches down in Penzance. She's also part of our education team as a schools-based lead within the diocese team. And she sits on SACRA, which is the Standing Advisory Council on Religious Education, which advises on RE and collective worship. And she's part of, I don't know how you pronounce it, Nikki, NATRE or NATRE?
NATRE.
NATRE, thank you. Yeah. The National Association of Teachers of RE, which she works very hard to produce really good RE work going on in our schools. So I'm going to hand you over to Nikki to, I'm going to hand you over to Rob first of all, because Rob has got a really exciting story to tell about what's been happening in his church. Thank you, Rob.
Hello, my name's Rob Pierce and I am church warden at a very rural church. We have 117 people in our parish, so we are very rural. 2.5 miles away, we've got a school, and in that school, they have increased their numbers of pupils from 62 8 years ago to 118 now, through having a lovely set of teachers, and the word spreads, doesn't it? So my story is, we signed up to Creation Care, and we had to create some champions. So we appointed the head of this school and the children, the Eco Squad, as our Creation Care champions. And that gave us a much better in with the school than we would have had under other circumstances. And it also gave us significant buy-in from the community, because our community spreads beyond our parish, if you like, and interfaces with the schools, community, etc. So we appointed them as our Creation Care champions, and you may know that we've got a gold award for that. Now, the issue for us as a small rural church is we very rarely see a priest. So there's very little spiritual stuff done in our church. The priest arrives, does the service. At the moment we're in an interregnum, so we'll have 7 communion services this year. They arrive and then they disappear, and that's the end of our spiritual input for another month or so. And one of the things we wanted to do was to grow the church. And if we go back to 2000, so this is a 10-year program, so we go back to about 2016, 17, we decided we would make the children that we've got have communion before confirmation. And in doing that, we produced a little booklet on family communion service. And in that, it tells you what is happening through the service. And the surprising thing wasn't that the children didn't know what was going on, because they largely did. It was the adults didn't know what was going on. And so then we searched then for some means of bringing the adults and the children to having the same understanding about Christianity. And I was a governor, or still am a governor, and we used to have in those days a Christian Ethos group, and the local school in St Martin's in Liskeard did a training program, and it was 2019, I think, beginning of 2019, and it was all about understanding Christianity and the big freeze. Now, I'm not going to go into understanding Christianity and the big freeze, because you've got experts to talk about it, but the point is, it's a simple way of explaining to children and to adults creation to redemption. It's a lovely way of doing it. And what you end up with is a flourishing parish, because we're all talking out of the same hymn book. So where we are today is that we have very, and I mean that, very, very close links with our school. The head of school, because our school is our largest worshipping community, so we have 118 children there. We decided last year that those children need to be represented on our church in a better way. So we appointed the head of school as one of our church wardens. So the head of school is one of our church wardens. The executive head of the group of schools is our lay chair of the PCC. Both of those are people who've come because of what we're doing, not because they weren't already there. So that means for collective worship, they have collective worship every day, and that is led by the church wardens, or a church warden, and of course, so that then it means we have an influence on what is said and so forth. So there's a lot. What I'm trying to say is there's an awful lot to be gained by going down the understanding Christianity route. It's a brilliant way of adults and children understanding what we do. And as a church, we work very closely with our Methodist friends, because we're little, we don't have a number of volunteers. So we involve ecumenically our Methodist friends in everything we do, because it doesn't matter to me whether you go to chapel or church. It doesn't really matter. So we do things together. So this afternoon we will do Open the Book. We do that every week. That's a much better way than Sunday school, because you're there every week telling the story. After that, we have after school club. So we have 35 children again, where you get an intimate talk with the children about what's going on. So you're influencing the children, you're influencing the PTA, their parents, who probably have never been to church. So you've got it's a big win by going down the understanding Christianity route, and the starting point of it all is creation. And everybody understands creation, understands the environment, and that is a big way into schools for churches. And I can only encourage you to do what you can to be involved with your local school. Do we know it works? Well, at Christmas Eve, there were two little girls came in from Mornan. They saw in our church, we've got an Understanding Christianity big frieze. It's 2.4 meters long. And they went up to it and they were telling their parents what the Understanding Christianity frieze meant. They're telling them all about creation and the gospel and so forth. And that was interesting to see them doing that. About a month later, we had two more children. So that they came from a Church of England school. About a month later, we had two more children, and they were telling their mum about this. But they didn't come from a church school. They came from a maintained school in Devon. And they said, oh, we do this on the internet. And the difference was the church school had their own frieze in their own school. The ones in Devon, because they were a maintained school, did it via the internet. But they could tell you exactly what each of the friezes meant. So again, I would encourage you to have a big frieze in church, and get your school to have a big frieze as well. And I'm sure you can get a grant off the diocese to do it. Put that up, and the children in the church and the children at school then know that they're worshipping the same God and in the same place. So we know that works. And that, I think, is all I need to say, other than it was an exciting thing to get the gold award. We work very closely with the school and the teachers, and from the Roche's point of view, I've heard, we've had it for a year, and I've heard back now. They had the Green Heart of Mission webinar the other day, and they said that our interface with the school was inspirational. And so we've got feedback from them that what we've done is, in their view, the right thing to do. And I just encourage any of you, please get involved with your local school. And if you haven't got a local school, you're bound to have a school in the next parish, and the chances are that parish isn't doing anything with them anyway. So why not go and knock on their door? Thank you.
Well, that's brilliant. Thank you. And that is a complete inspiration. And for someone who loves to see churches and schools linking together, it's a fantastic story. So thank you very much for all that you do and for involving the children. And you're absolutely right. So much can be gained for church and school by linking together. So we're going to hear a bit from Nikki now about hopefully a little bit more about the Big Freeze amongst the other things that she does. So thank you, Nikki.
Oh, thanks, Claire. Thank you for such a lovely introduction earlier. And thank you guys for inviting me to your meeting today. It's my great pleasure to talk to you about RE that's going on in schools, because actually the RE going on in schools is really good, really exciting, and it's just brilliant. I have got some slides that I can hopefully share. I will just see if it all works. Let's have a look. Let's go to that one. Can everybody see those? Is that good? Claire, can you see those? Yeah, fantastic. Thank you. Great. Thank you. So I will be talking for about 10 minutes about the Understanding Christianity resource, particularly about where creation fits into it. So basically, the Understanding Christianity resource is a brilliant, brilliant resource for all schools, not just church schools, like Rob said. The Understanding Christianity resource gives lesson plans, it gives resources to teachers in order to teach Christianity units that are within the Cornwall Agreed Syllabus. So it is a resource that can be used by all schools, regardless of being a church school or maintained school, whatever. It's such a brilliant resource that a lot of schools in Cornwall use it. In fact, the majority of schools, I would say, primary schools particularly, use Understanding Christianity. It's such a really good resource because what it does, it teaches Christianity in a context for the children. And I'll explain a bit more, and I'll explain a bit more about the Big Freeze shortly. So what you can see on the screen, there are 8 concepts that underpin Understanding Christianity. So every time the children are doing a unit of Christianity work, it will be based around one of these core concepts that you can see on your screens at the moment. So you can see that creation is one of those core concepts. And each of those core concepts are represented by one of these core icons, if you like, or concept cards. So the creation card particularly is represented by a paint pot. So how the Understanding Christianity resource is based, it's a spiral curriculum so that children as young as 4 in EYFS and foundation stage, they come across 3 of the concepts. They come across creation, incarnation, and salvation. And then you can see by this diagram, we won't spend too long on it, but you can see that as the children move through their schooling, they get introduced to other concepts based in Christianity, core concepts. So by the time the children leave primary at year 5 and 6, they actually are coming across 7 or 8 core Christian concepts through their Christianity work. This resource can be continued into secondary schools. So that's a really good thing, so that the children can leave primary and then continue doing the same sort of work, the same approach to Christianity. It is a resource that goes from sort of 4-year-olds up to 14. So it is a brilliant, brilliant Christianity resource. I won't spend too long on that now, but you can see that creation actually is one of the key concepts because children learn it as young as 4, like we said, and all the way up to 14. This is the Big Freeze that Rob referred to, that he has got in his church. And basically, we could spend ages talking about this, but in a nutshell, you have got 8 frieze panels. And what it does really, really cleverly, it tells the story of the Bible from the beginning of the Bible, obviously at Genesis, to the end of the Bible, to Revelation. So you can see at the beginning there, you have God and creation in the first panel. How we explain it to the children, it's kind of simplified the Bible narrative, if you like. We don't shy away from the fact that the Bible is a series of books and it's got many authors. We don't shy away from that. But what we do say to the children is there is a Bible narrative that most Christians would agree with. And it's basically this, that in the beginning, there is a creator God and he made everything. He is a creator. He made the world. Unfortunately, something happened. There was a problem, the fall. That's obviously Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden. And what that event did, there was a breakdown between the relationship between God and humans and themselves, and humans and the environment, due to the fall. The people of God sections, that refers to sort of the Old Testament prophets. They did everything they could to try and sort out the problem that they were having. There was this breakdown in relationship. They tried to get the people to repent from their sins, but people kept sinning again. So this kind of spiral kept going on. People are walking round and round in circles. And in fact, on the frieze panel, you can see there are many figures sort of walking around in circles. People need rescuing. They are in need of a Messiah, a Saviour. So that's the Old Testament sort of frieze panels. Then you move on to the New Testament frieze panels. So then we have incarnation. We have the answer to their problems. We have Jesus, who is God incarnate. And then we go to the Gospels, obviously the Gospels, the message of the Gospels and Jesus' teaching and the miracles and the parables. Then we move on to salvation, that Jesus had to die in order to restore the relationship between man and between God. And that frieze panel clearly shows there's a cross that now builds the bridge between God and humans. You know, God, Jesus has repaired the breakdown in the relationship, if you like. And then the end frieze panel is the kingdom of God, the world that Jesus seeks to bring onto earth. So it is being transformed. The world is being transformed through the gospel messages. So that's a really, and apologies, that's a really quick whistle-stop tour of the frieze panels. And each frieze panel represents one of the core concepts which I showed you earlier. You can see I've placed them on the top there, and you can see the concepts are at the bottom. So this is the beginning, as we've just mentioned. This is the beginning of the big frieze. This is the creation panel. There's lots for the children to spot in this one. They love looking at these frieze panels. They can tell you more than I can tell you today, but there's so much that they will spot there. There's all the diversity of creation. It's deliberately bright coloured, because it reflects God as the creator. You can see there's so many things. They love picking out the worms. They love picking out the rocks. There's night and day. There's birds. There's creation. There's giraffes. There's so much to spot. You can see Adam and Eve there. Obviously, with our religious literacy, we can see Adam and Eve there. And we can also see, when you look really closely, cleverly, the artist has put the serpent there, the snake that goes all the way from like the middle all the way up to the top. And then at the top of there, you can see, this is kind of a spoiler onto the next frieze panel, but you can see there's a crime tape at the top, which kind of shows the children that something is about to happen. A big event is about to occur. A crime is about to occur with the fall. So hopefully that explains the frieze panels. While I was here, I thought I would just show you really quickly what it might look like in a primary school. So the creation units are always based, well, in fact, all of the units are always based around a key question. So the creation units start in reception, like we've already said, in EYFS. And so the creation unit in Understanding Christianity, the children explore the key question of why is the word God so important to Christians? And this just gives you a really quick overview as to the type of work that the children might be doing in EYFS and reception. So they're talking about the word create, creation, creator, and in our school they were just linking everything to jungles, and they were making jungles, they were making animals, talking about the brilliance of creation. I think you can probably hear we've got brass band going on in the background. Apologies for that too. Life in a school is just brilliant. In year 2, the children build on that knowledge and understanding, and they look at creation in the Bible. They have it read to them, and then they write their own version of it, and they wrote their own creation poem, like an acrostic poem based on it. They drew pictures, just so they've got that understanding of the Bible narrative of the creation story. But as the children get older, it's really clever. It builds on their learning. This was my class. So in year 4, because they've already explored those things, they know the language, they know the vocabulary, they've known the Bible story, they can then begin to stop and look a bit deeper into creation. So in year 4, when the children are about 8, I took them out, they took some photos on their iPads, they took a photo of what they best thought pictured the brilliance of creation. So you can see there's like a butterfly, there's a caterpillar, there's flowers. And then for homework, the year 4s are given the job of creating something. And it can be anything. And I love this task with the children because it can be absolutely anything. They can do drawings, they can make Lego. This person there made a cake. They can absolutely make anything. They can go online if it's their thing. They can make something on Minecraft. Doesn't matter, as long as the children are making something so that they become the creators. And then we went back to the Bible text, which obviously they've looked at in year 2, and we've reminded them of it. And we highlighted every time in the text it said that God made something and he looked and he saw that it was good. And then we talk about that. And we sort of say, look, you guys have made something. You've become creators. How does it feel? And obviously at that age, the children go, yeah, it feels really good. I've made something I'm really proud of. It feels really good. And then you can kind of guess where this next stage is going, because then we kind of talk about, okay, so you've made this really good thing. How would you feel if somebody came along and deliberately wrecked your creation, or took it for granted, or didn't look after it, or did something awful to it? And then the children automatically realise, I mean, they felt horrified. Some of them were like, Miss, what are you talking about? How can somebody do that to my creation? And actually then it links really nicely to the fact that actually God is the creator God. Have we all not got a responsibility to look after our world? So then in year 4, we made a list as a class actually of what the children suggested we could all be doing to look after our world. So that was in year 4. And then by the time they're year 6, so by the time they're 10 and 11 and they're leaving primary school, they build upon that again. There's a lot of work in this unit, and I didn't take pictures of all of it. But again, the starter was to sort of tell the story narrative. They know the story by now of creation. They could instantly put the pictures that are in order. But then they learn about lived religion and people's opinions of what they think happened at the beginning of our world. And it's really interesting, creation and science. Is it conflicting or is it complementary? And the children are really coming to grips with different people's opinions of this. And it's not so black and white. You know, obviously they learn about some Christian scientists, for instance. They learn that actually people can believe in both creation and science. And then it finally ends, by the time they are 10 and 11, by getting the children to think about their own opinions of this. Okay, so you've heard about other people's opinions. What do you think? And like the piece of work there on the left is a child who could really, grown up in a really mature way, sort of put both sides of the argument there. Was the world created, or did it, you know, was it a creator God, or did it come into being? They could put both sides of the argument, and then they could end it with their own thoughts and feelings at the end. And isn't that great that we can get children to that stage where actually they're forming their own really good opinions of things like who made the world? So I hope that's helpful. That kind of gives you a bit of an insight into how the creation sort of concept is kind of explored within a primary school. I just wanted to give you this key piece of information too. It's a bit of a spoiler actually, because in our new agreed syllabus, which we are going to be adopting the next academic year, there is a really good new unit of work for primary schools, and it's this. It's for year 5 and 6 children. It's called Green Religion. What do religious and non-religious worldviews teach about caring for the earth? Now, this is a new unit, like I've just said, so it will be up to schools. They can use it if they want to. They can add it to their RE curriculum. They can teach it as an extra. It's going to be up to each schools to decide how they want to use this RE unit. But actually, when I looked at it, I thought this RE unit is really up to date. It's really exciting for our primary schools. Really, in a nutshell, it kind of deals with issues of climate change, environmental protection, the future sustainability of the planet. And it looks at different religions. It looks at Greta Thunberg, and it looks at sort of her in a case study. But then it looks at different religions in terms of, it looks at Jewish Ecological Coalition, the Islamic Relief Tree Planting, Hindu Bhumi Project, Christian Eco Church, Operation Noah. I mean, brilliant, brilliant examples, cross-phase and cross-religions, that actually the children can begin to realise that actually we have more in common that divides us, and that creation can bring people together. The love of the world, the love of all this kind of desire to save our planet can bring people together. So I think that's a really, really exciting new unit of work which schools can be using from September onwards, and I thought I would want to share that with you today. And then finally, I was going to refer to this as well, St Mary's Braddock. Rob, thank you very much for your input today. I just wanted to put that photo there because you can see the big frieze that he was talking about in the church setting there. And that, I think, is everything that I wanted to share. Is that okay? Are there any questions? Anything anybody would like to ask? I've stunned you all. I hope I didn't talk too quickly. I've stunned you all into silence. But I hope that was a bit of an overview as to the Understanding Christianity pack. It is brilliant. It potentially there you can bring churches and schools together in such a really, really good way. And it's just brilliant. You should hear the children talk about it. And then, you wouldn't need me here. Maybe next time I'll get a child to come here and talk to you guys about it instead of me. I mean, possibly that's the way ahead. But I hope that's been helpful for you today.
I've got a question.
Yeah, of course.
So your slides, they were super.
Thank you.
Is there a way we can share those slides at all? Or can we have copies of those? Could we use
Yeah.
If you send them to me
in a PCC or something?
Okay, of course.
Then I can distribute them if that's all right with you.
Yeah, of course, Rosie. I'll send them to you later on. Yeah, of course. No problem at all. I guess I should have said the Understanding Christianity pack is quite tricky. I suppose I should have said this too. And actually, we can't give you guys access to all the resources on the Understanding Christianity pack because I'm an Understanding Christianity trainer for the diocese, and I had to sign sort of a disclaimer that actually I can only give all the resources to people that have done like between 9-hour and 12-hour training on it, because it is really complex and it is really theological and it is quite tricky. We have to make sure that the teachers in our schools are trained properly in it. I mean, I've literally just talked to you for 10 minutes, but it's actually quite complex. So only when people have done this like 9-hour training am I able to give you access to the online resources that go with it. But of course, you can have access to the big frieze. You can buy the big frieze separately in churches. But that will explain. I've had quite a few questions recently, actually, from clergy saying, we really want to see it. We really want to see the lesson plans. Can we not have access to it online? And as much as I'd love to give you all access online, you have to have done like the 9-hour training. It's 3 sort of afternoons we do in the diocese in order to give you access to the resources. But yes, I can easily and happily send you my slides.
Okay, lovely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. I am going to have to go back to class, so I'm going to have to love you and leave you. But thank you again for inviting me today. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much.
Thank
you.
you. Thanks very much. Thanks, Claire. Thanks, Rosie.
No problem. Thanks a lot, Nikki. That was absolutely brilliant. And that new unit looks absolutely cracking. And I've signed up for the training on the new RE syllabus. So I can't wait for that now. I'm really.
Do you know what? I knew you'd love that, Claire. I put that in especially for you because I knew it was right up your street. Thanks ever so much, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
you.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, quick time check. So continuing with the theme of churches and schools working together, I'm just going to talk a little bit about my role within the diocese, what I've done with some of you, and I'm hoping to do with more of you in the future, and some of the really exciting things that have been going on in our diocese. So I am going to attempt to share my screen. And then I'm going to. Okay, how's that? Can everybody see that?
We can see it, yeah.
Perfect. Let's go back to the beginning. I don't know why it's come on halfway through. Okay, so my grand title is Schools Creation Care Officer. And as I've said before, that's a new title, which was great because it gave me carte blanche to kind of make the role up as I went along, which was fantastic. So as some of you are aware, in addition to our Eco Churches scheme, there is also an Eco Schools scheme. It's not from our Russia, it's from Keep Britain Tidy, I think, are the people behind it. But it's a really good scheme about involving young people in the work of looking after the planet. It's not aimed at faith-based schools, but it's used by all schools. It's used by schools throughout the UK and schools abroad as well. So part of my role is to get our church schools as involved as we can with the Eco Schools project. This has involved me going in and doing some collective worship in schools to tell the children about what Eco Schools is. Also, I've done a few staff meetings to talk to staff about what Eco Schools is all about. I've produced some online resources, including lesson plans, and those have all been made available to the schools that sign up. One of the things that we've done most excitingly with our Eco Schools, part of the Eco Schools scheme involves the children becoming an eco committee. So schools either vote in or the teachers select their eco committee or eco club or eco squad. They all have different titles. And these young people get together, they meet regularly, they talk about what's going on in their school. They do an audit of what's going on, and then they choose 3 things that they would like to improve on. And in those 3 things, they then create a project and work to improve their school. So it might be big things like we're going to create a school garden, or we're going to create a school pond. It might be small things like we're going to make sure we recycle all our rubbish, and the eco committee might be involved in choosing new bins. A lot of eco committees spend their lunch times running around collecting everybody else's recycling, sorting it out properly, and making sure it goes to the right skip in the playground. They also go around with clipboards, naming and shaming any classes and class teachers who dare to leave the lights on during break time or leave the doors open. So they get really involved in a practical way. So a few months ago, we invited our eco squads, our eco councils to Truro Cathedral, where we held an Eco Schools conference. We had 18 schools from across the diocese, and Nikki's school was one of them, who came along, and the young people sat in front of a huge audience of their peers and of other people and of leaders of eco squads around the county, and they told us what was going on in their school. So each eco committee had a spokesperson who came up onto the stage. They talked about what their projects were in their schools and how well they were going. And it was absolutely humbling to listen to how articulate these young people are and how passionate they are about saving the planet. They also got to hear from the wonderful Ben Lilly, who just really did such a brilliant job of linking eco schools, which is secular, with creation care and putting God into the middle of the work that they were doing, which we really appreciated. So at the conference, the children had the chance to take part in some workshops, and thank you to all of those of you who came along and helped. The children took part in all of these activities, so they went home with boxes full of things that they'd made and done. Here are some of them at work. I think this is a picture of children making bird feeders out of orange peel, and then making bee bombs to take back to their schools or their gardens to plant wildflower seeds. All of these organisations turned up to support us, and they also gave activity workshops and gave children a lot of information. So each child who came attended about 8 different workshops. They all lasted about 15 minutes long, talking to at least half of the people that were there and taking part in some of the practical things as well. It was a real success. The youngest child who attended was 3 years old and was from foundation stage, from preschool in one of the schools. One of the schools had its own nursery, and this little tot came along and really joined in, and it was amazing. And then up to children of 10 and 11, who are probably the ones that do most of the work within the schools. Here are some of them at work. I think one is planting the bean seed, and Rosie did a marvelous craft activity with leaf printing, which they all really enjoyed. So over the last year or so, the number of schools engaging in eco schools has shot up. We now have 32 schools. I think I might have 33 because I'm in talks with another school at the moment, who are now on the eco schools journey and looking to achieve their green flag status. It doesn't come in bronze, silver and gold like Eco Church, but they get a green flag, and they get an actual big green flag to fly in their school. The other project that I have been working on started in this very group, and it started with the lovely Helen from Iluggan Church, who asked, well, how can I use creation care to link my church with my local schools? And Rob has been telling us all about how important it is for schools and churches to work together, what a blessing and a benefit it is for everyone. So we devised this project whereby we have creation care workshops that can be held in churches by members of your congregation and by yourselves, inviting children in. It's based on the RE syllabus that Nikki was talking about. It's based on the year 3 and 4 understanding of creation care, and why Christians find it so important to look after God's creation, which is one of the things that they have to explore. So we come into the church, we start with the Bible story, we talk about what it means to be responsible for the planet. I tend to use the Message version, which uses the word responsibility, because that's a word that children really understand and can key into. So we talk about being responsible for the planet, and then we go out into the churchyard, and even in churches where there is no churchyard, we go into the hall or whatever, and we do a variety of activities, and there are a huge number of activities. In the topic pack, there are 10 to choose from, but you can make your own up. And you do this with the children in small groups. So each child does 3 little workshops, or sometimes 4 little workshops. Then they come back into the church and they write a prayer or a wish for creation, which we tie onto a prayer tree, which remains in the church, so that on the Sunday following the children's visit, that tree can be made part of the service. It can be, the children's prayers can be offered to God by the congregation, and it's a really lovely way, I think, of linking the prayers of children with the prayers of the congregation, even though you may not have all of the children in the church on a Sunday. It's really nice for them to know. And we did this, I was at St. Cuby Church 2 days ago, and we did this, and the awe and wonder with which the children watched their prayers being tied to the tree, and then they prayed some of their prayers with me. It was lovely. It was really a really spiritual moment. This is St. Stephen's Church in Saltash, where we have run some workshops last month. It was brilliant. They did a lot of practical stuff. And there is a pack, should you be interested in doing one of these workshops yourself. All the pack and everything you need to run the workshop is on the website. and you can contact me. I'm quite happy to come along and help you plan it, and I'm quite happy to go and help you lead as well if that's helpful to you. So the number of children that have taken part in a creation care workshop over the last year, we are looking at around about 700 children now have come into a church. Most of these, in fact, almost all of these, have been children from non-church schools. So they have been children who might not otherwise go to church and who certainly don't attend on a Sunday. So it is just really nice to get those children to step into a church with their adults and see what beautiful places they are, and to be encouraged to come along and join you for a service. This summer we have now got I've got another 3 churches signed up for June, with I think about 8 to 10 schools have been invited. So we're hoping to get an awful lot more children involved. If you would be interested in running creation care workshops with your local school, then do please give me a shout. Those are my contact details, and of course you can get hold of me through Rosie. It really is a blessing, as I'm sure those of you who have been involved will tell you. It's a wonderful thing to do. It's a really good way, because creation care is so important to everybody, not just for people in church schools or people in churches, but for the whole for the whole population. It's such an important thing. It's a really good way of linking together, and everybody's interested. That the church, many of our churchyards just make such wonderful places for children to explore, and they don't always get to come in and look closely. So it's been a really good thing to do. I am going to just try and, there we go. Hopefully that's it. So has anyone got anything that they wish to ask or comment on? I'm afraid I can't see any.
No, sorry, Claire. I wanted to ask something. I was just looking at all the content of the Eco Schools conference, and I thought that is amazing. And the people that came, the different groups that you got coming to it, and it made me think, well, why is that only for the children? Maybe that could be something we might look at in the future.
Maybe an Eco Church conference,
just generally, it was just the groups of people that you got. I'm trying to think what one of them was now. I think I took a screenshot.
Wildlife Trust was a good one.
Yeah, there was one there, and I thought, oh, that would be brilliant. Get them along. I can't remember now what it was, but yeah. So
we have had green fairs before in Truro Cathedral. I think the last one was a couple of years ago, but who knows in the future. That is certainly something we could arrange again. Just kind of being on the.
Yeah, no, I was just thinking, but that was a little.
Next year.
Sorry, Helen.
I'd like to help next year.
Yeah,
be there.
Thank you.
It just felt that there was more going on at more than a fair almost, and yeah. I don't know, there was information sharing, and that from different people. I just wondered, I don't know.
Yeah, that was really worthwhile, having the children talking to each other. And the theme that we've had running through this year with our Eco schools is that you're not trying to do this all on your own. There are lots of people wanting to help. Lots of people are doing lots of things. You can't save the planet yourself, but with everybody's help and with God's help, you can make a big difference. So that's kind of the theme of the learning that we've been going through the year. But yeah, there were a lot of groups who wanted to sign up to help, and I even had them telling their friends about it. And then I had emails from other companies saying, "Oh, we hear that you're running an eco conference, and we'd like to come along." So it it started off as a very small thing that was going to be run in a church hall somewhere, and yeah, kind of grew out of all proportion. So yeah, thank you God for that blessing. It was a marvelous thing. And yeah, definitely, Helen, I'd love your involvement next year. Okay, so that's me, I think.
Can I just say, Claire, it was an amazing couple of days at Saltash. Sorry, you can't see me. My screen's not working. We had an amazing couple of days. Our tree of leaves is still up in the church. And I have got a report from Bishop Cornish, but no photographs at the moment.
Oh, that's fantastic to hear, Helen. Yeah, it was great, wasn't it?
It was.
And I did learn from experience at your church that actually making pots out of newspaper outside was probably not a good plan, because it did rather look like it'd been snowing in the church when we finished. But it was a lovely couple of days there, and it was so nice because you worked with one church school and one non-church school, didn't you?
Yeah, and it was lovely.
That was interesting.
And my children's tomatoes are growing away nicely. So
oh, fabulous. Yeah, I was wondering, we're planting all these seeds and hoping that some of them actually come up. So.
Yeah, and as we thought, there's 5 came out of one pot, so that's where we ran out of seeds.
Yeah, when I said to the children take one seed, I think some of them thought the seeds were so small they better put in a few extra.
Right. So thank you so much, Claire. Claire is going to end in a little while with prayer, but I'm just wondering, we got any notices?
Yes,
Rosie?
yeah, we've got a few notices. And my main one is a push for the energy footprint tool completion, please. Thank you so much to the churches who have already completed that. That's 93 of our churches out of 296. So the deadline is the 30th of June. So as you can see, I've got to really work very hard to get our churches to complete this in time before the deadline. So what I would appreciate from you, if you could ask your treasurer, it's usually the treasurer who completes the energy footprint tool, ask them, have you done it? If you haven't, please do it. If they think, oh, I don't know what to do, just point them in my direction. This can be done either online or in a paper version if they prefer, and I can upload the data from. So yeah, please do push that. I really appreciate that. There will be emails again, I'm afraid, from me going out to those churches who haven't completed it. Claire, have you got your hand up?
No.
Oh, no, Claire Chipman.
It's just simpler to do it yourself.
Yes, yes, is. Yes. If your treasurer passes you your utility bills for 2024, it's not a difficult thing to do. And it's much easier really to do it online as well. I can give you the logins. So thank you, Claire, for that. Other quick notices, No Mow May was already mentioned. So don't worry about cutting your lawn this month. Don't worry about the churchyard either. Just let it grow wild, and for those pollinators, that would be amazing. The church's counter nature has already been mentioned, and it's lovely to hear that the Isles of Scilly are going to be doing that. I did look on the website. That runs from the 7th to the 15th of June. And so far, we haven't got any churches which are registered, but that doesn't necessarily mean it's not happening because I haven't registered yet. But so I'm hopeful that there will be some churches doing it as well as the Isles of Scilly. And then that's a really busy week, the 7th to the 15th of June, because it's a great big, Great Big Green Week. That's run by the Climate Coalition. Lots of things happening there. If you just go to their website, again, I looked on their website to see if there's anything happening down in Cornwall. I'm afraid no, not yet. But the closest event is in Torquay, which is a litter pick. So it'd be great if something happened down here. Very easy, I would imagine, to organise something like a litter pick, and there's still time to organise things. So yeah, just one sort of quite exciting advance notice that we are going to be doing a day's walk, a pilgrimage down west. That's with the Creation Care Network, and it's going to be run by Ellie Sheard. So it's going to be in June. So when I got more information and the date, you'll be the first to hear from it. But hopefully that'll be something nice for us to do in person. And also, finally, the newsletter is going to be going out late this month, I'm afraid, because I got a holiday next week. But there we go. We're nearly at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much, everybody.
Right.
Enjoy your holiday.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, we've got a few minutes. I mean, my it's 11:56 I've got on here, so we've probably
Yes.
got 3 minutes. Just to remind everyone that our next meeting is Thursday, the 12th of June. It's a 7 to 9 p.m. one, and it's World Ocean Day. And we've invited speakers from Surfers Against Sewage. So we will look forward to that. And I don't know, we might even know another surfer that we might be able to include in that. Watch this space for that.
What's the
So,
date
yes.
again? The 12th of June.
12th of June, Thursday, the 12th of June, 7 till 9 p.m. on Zoom. So, yes. So, I just want to thank everybody for coming, especially our speakers. I learned loads there. I really did. And I was also excited by the new stuff that's going to be coming into our schools when they're including things like Operation Noah and things. I thought, wow, that it's really quite exciting. So Claire, can I ask you to pray to end so that those that need to go can go? And then on Rosie's count, we will move into a time of 2-minute silence for VE Day.
Of course.
Thank you.
Now, the prayer that I'm going to share with you, typical of a teacher, this is a prayer written by a 10-year-old called Emmy, who comes from Anthony School, right up at the top end of our diocese. And she was asked to write a prayer for a Creation Care Assembly. And I want to share that prayer with you now. Heavenly Father, God of all creation, giver of life, isn't our world just amazing? The world that you created for us. We thank you for the beautiful sun which shines down upon us, for the rain which makes things grow, for the fields and trees, for the sea and sky, for the flowers, the birds, and all creatures, and for all your gifts. Give us the grace to love and nurture this earth as you do. Give us courage to give ourselves as you do for the good of all people and for all your creation. Help us all to look after this beautiful world which you have given to us. You have created something so special, and it's our job now to keep it that way. We pray this in your name. Amen.